ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Are you wondering what to do this holiday season? Will it be the same? Will you be able to give your family all that they need? Well, with TDC Financial Services, all your holiday woes will disappear. You can get up to $35,000 unsecured for your holiday needs. Give us a call at 465-6516 or 469-5430 to find out how we can help to make your holidays happier for you and your family. TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Good morning, St Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to Voices. Today is Wednesday, the 3rd day of February 2021, and we're having another edition of Voices with our special guest, EK, the real right, EK Flanders, and we have Carlton Dupont joining us here as well. Today's conversation is going to be very exciting, so be sure to tune in, and of course later on in the program when we open the phone lines to hear some of your comments and questions and your concerns, and for you to be a part of the conversation. Yes, we do look forward to that. So welcome to Voices, and thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned as we say thank you to our sponsors, and when we return, we will continue our conversation, which is about the relevance and importance of radio. And of course, we will be touching on different topics and issues, social ills that you hear on the radio and some that you don't hear on the radio. Stay tuned to Voices.
When the star them there, we are top man, we take charge. Magnum we drink and we are shell down bars. Blast like a star with some Galapagos. Over no we take it too far. Take charge, take charge.
We are hot gal, we set the trend. Magnum we drink for the top man then. Wine with the style and no stop from spin. Hot blend, back bend and take charge, take charge.
Magnum tonic wine for the real star them. Take charge, take charge. Must be 18 or older, drink responsibly.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Honey, I have so much to do. And now I need to go to TDC Home and Building Depot to buy the new fridge.
Samantha, stop worrying. You can purchase the fridge and whatever else you may need with TDC Home and Building Depot's curbside and delivery service.
Really?
Just send your request via WhatsApp or email, pay online, and get your purchase by pickup or delivery.
Wow! I'm going to try TDC curbside and delivery service now.
Terms and conditions apply. Check our social media pages for all the details.
Welcome back to Voices right here on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host, Devon Cornelius, and as I said, I'm here with E.K. Flanders and Carlton DuPont, and they will be a part of the discussion for today. We're talking about the relevance of radio. Is radio still relevant? Why? Why not? And, recommendations about radio and media services in the Federation, of course, across the Caribbean region. But I will allow these two gentlemen to say a little bit about themselves, even though the world, St Kitts and Nevis, already know who they are. EK?
All right. Good morning, Mr. Cornelius, Mr. Japan. Good morning. And of course, good morning to the listening audience of WINN FM, whether you're on the FM band or you're on the internet platforms. Yes, I'm EK. Lawyer name, Maurice Flanders, forget that. I have been in broadcasting for, let's say, about 20 years, thereabout. Yeah, good bit.
I'm 20, by the way. So.
Yeah. So while you were busy being born, my career was also busy being born as well. It has been a good run. I've learned a lot along the way. I've met a lot of people, did a lot of networking, and radio has served me very well on different fronts. And it's just been a good run so far in entertainment on a whole. What else can I say? I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What about you, Dupa?
Yeah, well, good morning to both of you. I have been in radio over 30 years, thanks to Cons Edwards, who invited me to ZIZ, and he taught me some excellent things about radio. I would like to thank WINN FM for inviting me here because I believe it's relevant for especially two men who are very popular in radio in my country, in my opinion, in Ike and myself, that people depend on us to hear certain things on radio. For instance, Ike would have on occasionally Edinburgh, a guy who I have tremendous respect for, but yet so many people don't like him. So this is what radio for. We could discuss that. What about Edinburgh you don't like? And I can tell you what I like. This is why I choose radio. Don't waste water. If you waste water, what could happen? A lady gave me a letter yesterday. She's seeking $27,000 to go back to university after 1 year because she ran out of money. That's bad planning. So what radio is for? When I'm on radio, I want to teach youngsters that you can attempt to go to university without securing the money. Mm-hmm. So I believe this program, if people serious and they listen, they can learn a lot from it. Mm-hmm. Because Ike, a man in radio who, for some strange reason, people think that we are fighting against each other. I don't know why they think so, and I don't know why they call me and always believe we in competition. I have never been and will never be in competition with Ike. I like to hear him, and that's the story.
Great, man. And I mean, for me, Ike said he has been in radio for 20 years. I just made 20 last year.
You're 20 years?
20 years old. And you said you've been here for 30 years. Yeah. So I started working at WINN FM in September. So I'm very new to this. So this will be a learning experience for me, and not just the listeners who will be learning something. I'll be learning something as well. And I look forward to a fruitful and good discussion this morning. Definitely. But firstly, the obvious question will be, why are you still in this profession, Ike?
Me? Well, as Mr. Japan said, it offers you an opportunity to connect with a vast number and different people of all walks of life, and you can share information, you can share stories, because I think that we're all here to teach each other. The older ones, the more experienced one, can pass on information to the younger ones. Even people who are of the same age, you can share information, because you may have a different experience and perspective to me, and if you offer that to me, then I could couple that with what I have to make myself a better person, or to bring any form of light to any situation. So that for me is the best part of being in broadcasting. Mm-hmm. And I think before we go further, we need to establish some of the terminologies. Because
we do.
You have to understand the history of something in order to understand what it is, its purpose, and its uses. And so the term radio are just for the devices. You know, I mean, I'm not sure if you know, where the inventions of frequency modulations and the AM and thing came from. That was back in 1910. The first radio per se, the device itself was the design and built by a scientist, DeFrost, I think his name was, if my memory serves me correctly. And that invention was bettered by another scientist called Armstrong. And they two were back and forth because Armstrong is the one who actually created what we are on right now, which is the FM band, the frequency modulation. And they were, back and forth with legal mitigations and what's not. And the scientist Armstrong, he was the one who actually decided to push the whole radio device forward. And he was met with some pushback from the newspaper industry. There was this Russian man who he came to America at a very young age, and he worked his way up to the top to becoming one of the CEOs and owners of a very large newspaper. And so he fought against Armstrong. So for 10 years, Armstrong was pushing to get radio, the frequency module, up and running. And he lost millions of dollars. He eventually committed suicide because of that. And, other pioneers came, saw what the invention was worth, and took it further. So the birth of broadcasting itself, which is disseminating information to a vast number of people simultaneously. That is the term that we are doing. That's what we are doing right now, broadcasting. Right. So the radio is the device, broadcasting is the practicing of disseminating information on a large scale. So that came about in the 1920s. And broadcasting incorporates what is happening in the society at any given time, be it sports, be it entertainment, be it arts, culture. You incorporate all of that, because when the birth of broadcasting came in the 1920s, you had people who had talent who were just basically, they were just catering to their immediate surroundings. And with broadcasting, they were able to share their talents, their poems, sports entertainment with a large number of people at the very same time. So broadcasting basically transformed the whole entertainment industry. So once we understand that, we could then begin to move forward. Because broadcasting, as I said, it's depicting what's happening in society. It brings entertainment, it brings culture, it brings art.
Definitely.
It brings everything into somebody's home or into their car. It even helped to revolutionize the automobile industry, because the automobile industry, the stock went up when people started incorporating the radio device into vehicles. And so radio and broadcasting in and of itself revolutionized everything that we are experiencing right now. It basically set the platform and set the tone, and it made a lot of people rich.
Well, Iki, I'm really glad that you gave that answer, because some people still today don't see the relevance or the importance of radio. And for the life of me, I can't understand. Even before working here, working in radio, I saw the importance, especially during the hurricanes. I saw the importance, because when we have the hurricanes and other natural disasters, you have to turn to the radio. Right. And that's where you get the information right away. You get it fast. You get information that is now. You get news.
News, right.
But what about you, Dupan?
Well, for me, let me say, all the years I've been here on radio, on this station, one of the things I learned most from radio is from Mr. Backers. DuPont. Sometimes you're on the air, and everything someone hear, they'll bring the information and give you once you put it on air. But you got to remember, if the person who you're saying all the things that you think you have the right information about have enough money to stretch you out in the court, you lose. I say, what, Mr. Backers? I keep that in my brains until today.
Yeah.
Not everything you hear, or even if you know, you say on radio.
That is so true.
You have to choose. And then Tony Fredericks taught me something on radio one morning. I was so shocked. I had to go back the other day and tell people about it. If you come on radio and say every Friday morning, this dirty, nasty woman pass up 4th Street 3:20 every afternoon, you don't call her name, you give the description in the yellow dress. If the court could work out who that woman is,
Yes.
the problem's still there. I said, what? Radio more powerful than I thought. I thought you could say the lady going up 4th Street 3:30 every Friday afternoon in a yellow dress. I don't like see her. She's a stink when she pass. No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because if it's the same person you're talking about and they get to check on it and the court could prove that, still trouble. What I use radio for? I met a young boy the other day. 2 young fellas down at the Treasury fighting. I pull one aside when they part the fight. I ask the next fella to help me. And I asked the youngster, why do you fight? He said, well, I see the same thing at home. You know what I did? I went on radio and talked about it. That's where radio for me.
Yeah.
Why this young fella fighting downtown? He was fighting. He told me what he see at home between his mother and father. Always fighting. What radio for? Men over 40 should go and check their prostate. When I remind people on the radio, people quietly come and say, thank you. I went and checked mine. And it's not so good.
Yeah.
Radio 4, a lady told me I used to run a program here. She was much younger, just years ago, and she saved enough money. And she went and buy she own stove and refrigerator from money that she saved. She said she learned it from me. There are so many things you could use radio for. And let me warn them before you come with something else. It's not good to use radio to try to bring down people. You feel better as a radio personality if you go on radio and lift up somebody rather than bring down that person. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't speak the truth about certain things. And if things not working good, you say it. But radio should be used to uplift a nation rather than to bring down the people living in the nation.
Well, to add to that, it's a tool. And it was formed or created to disseminate and reach the masses. Radio and broadcasting is so powerful that you can move an entire nation with it.
Yeah.
You can also bring down corrupt governments with it. I think broadcasting helped to bring down one of the corrupt U.S. presidents. He had to resign, and the vice president became president. I think the 40th president of America, he started in broadcasting as a sports broadcaster. So he started in radio and he moved to politics, because once you have the ear of the people, you basically can quote unquote do what you want with them. And so because of that move, where broadcasting was able to bring down corrupt regimes, certain regimes also made use of the mass broadcasting to disseminate their propaganda. So just like Mr. Jupan said, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad, depending on who is using it. So that's why I would encourage any broadcaster to be as fair and as balanced as you possibly can. You present both sides with all the points, and you educate as you go along, and you allow people to choose their path, because not everybody's going to come on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
So once you're fair and once you're balanced and once you disseminate the correct information, you'll have a long career in broadcasting. Long run.
Jupan, you had something to add?
Yeah, I got something important. Radio's so good. Yesterday I was training 5 o'clock at Kim Collins Stadium, and I've never seen this before. The police car drove in, they're doing checks. I've never seen that before. I went on radio yesterday and I compliment the police for it. That's what radio for. But what if police doing wrong? How do you tackle that? You write a letter to the commissioner. He don't study you. You know what you do? You go on radio. So you see a tie into things instantly there.
Yeah.
The police shocked me yesterday. 5 o'clock, I alone on the stadium training. Then I look, I see 2 other people coming. But you know how I felt when I saw that police car driving in? Radio again. I had some chase to cover. Can't get them covered. Everywhere I go, people tell me, no, they can't do them, they're too busy. Someone tell me about a man in Care, and his name is George. I went over to Care and talked to George. George, I have some chairs to cover. When can I bring them? He said, well, Mr. DuPont, I only will tell you bring them when I could do them. You know how good I felt? Because I know once I carry them and he said, come back whatever time, I get in them. He said, bring them tomorrow afternoon at 4, collect them the next afternoon at 4. 2 o'clock he called me, chairs done. That's what we're radio for. Talk about that. What if he had kept the chair for a long time? You got to think about that. And never study me again, and I'm calling him all the time. What if I had gone on radio and say, I don't believe George is a great guy. I've taken chairs there many times, and he don't even study me. He just put down the chairs. Radio can bring the difference there.
Definitely.
So people must understand when it comes to radio, don't think about the bad. Just be positive, especially those who would like to come in broadcasting like Ike and myself. It's a sweet job. But you know you can make a mistake that puts you in big trouble if the person's serious and want to go. Your brains have to be all-time working. I listen to Ike at afternoon and he program. And I know his brain's working all the time. But something impressed me about him. He nearly looked like he got the same blood like me. He just not going to stay away from things because it's not popular with people. He will talk it, just how we see it, and still on the borders of being careful. That's radio. Just in case youngsters listening, do not use radio and allow anybody to come pull you in radio. If they're going to show you a sheet of paper all the time, say this about he, say this about she. That's not what you use radio for.
And, you know, if I may add your point, I remember a few days ago, I was trying to reach a specific entity organization. And I call and I call and I call. They answered the phone. So on my program, I said, I've been trying to call X, Y, and Z. As soon as I came off the air, I received about 5 missed calls.
The message got to them.
The message got to them.
You see what I'm talking about?
And to add to what Ike said, in China and Somalia, you have registrations that would flourish and you have registrations that would fall. And I say that because, and it's what he said as well, in the radio world, you may have people who try to bring out the truth. Because in radio, you have to be balanced. You have to be unbiased. And so you have registrations there that would want to speak the truth and would want to shed light on corruption and would want to speak on social ills and issues that people are afraid to speak of. And we have heard of many instances where people who work in the radio industry, radio personalities, radio journalists end up dead, arrested, chastised, intimidated, threatened physically because of the work that they try to do and the work that they do on and with the radio.
I've experienced that.
And so it is not only in the bigger countries, it's right here in the Caribbean. It's right here in St Kitts and Nevis.
With us, it's a little subtle because our political life has not been that long that we incorporate certain violence into it.
Yes.
Violence is a part of it. Yeah, I kid you not. But certain violence, they have not reached us as yet. Because I have known journalists who have been killed for putting a story out there.
Yes, definitely.
You know, the people who they put the story out, they have long money. And so they could hire a hitman. They could pay anybody to do you any harm. Broadcasting for me has so many different avenues. You have sports entertainment, you have music, you have art, you have the politics. You have to be so careful with each one of them because music got in violence, art got in violence, and politics got in violence. I was threatened one time, my family was threatened, my kids, you know, because of I dared to ask certain questions and dared to bring up certain topics.
In St. Kitts?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Japan.
Oh, God.
It's a serious thing, you know.
I'm going to talk this again. They threatened to kill me, threatened to kill my kids. They vandalized my property. They vandalized my vehicles. And they used to literally follow me around. I have a career where I have to be on the road like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's when functions finish it.
Yeah.
And people would literally follow me around. There was a situation just like a businessman where I collect, certain monies. And it depends on when people could pay, because it's poor people. If a poor man catch his hand today, he gonna run come and bring him money if he owe you. So sometimes all of Friday afternoon, 6 o'clock when I finish on the radio, people who owe me thousands of dollars bring their money. Bank done closed. What am I supposed to do with that money? You understand? So I used to move a certain way. I never used to let people know my whereabouts. When I'm going, I go about my place. If I say I'm going down 4th Street line right now, you could go down 4th Street and look at me down there.
Thank you. I love that.
Me not down there. Because I understand the power of radio. Me not down there. So you go down there and look at me. So I had to find ways and means to keep myself and my family safe. You understand? It even came to a point where I actually went to the police for assistance. And nobody assisted me at all. And so then it led me now to tackle a different situation that exists in the country, where our system needs to be looked at. But I don't think it will be looked at anytime soon, because the people or the powers that be enjoy the kinks in the system. They could use it to their political advantage to victimize you. So we're not going to change it and fix it and make it better when we could use it for our advantage. And I'm trying to bring light to those things. It's a dangerous job. It's definitely a dangerous job. But with the life of radio, because you mentioned that some radios don't last as long, some broadcasting programs don't last as long. And that is because if you're in broadcasting, you have to understand the society that you're trying to cater to. You must understand the ebb and the flow. If you want your broadcasting medium to last, you must incorporate all aspects. If you think that you're going to leave out one and stick to one, it's not going to work. You have to incorporate all aspects of it. And that way you can get the masses in tune. Because if you have a good entertainment program on your broadcasting medium, then who is listening for the entertainment just might stick around long enough to hear the serious side, the political side, the information sharing side. You understand? But you have to first captivate your audience. So if you want your broadcasting medium to last, you must incorporate all the aspects of broadcasting into your one medium. Because journalists began using broadcasting via the radio to their advantage. They can hone in on a particular topic or issue and really give as much information as they possibly could that you could not give in newspapers, because you only have a certain amount of space to work with.
And some people don't like to read that at the same time.
And they don't. Some people they ain't into the reading thing, but they would listen. So you have an opportunity to fit as much information as you possibly can and really expound on the points using broadcasting. And so if you understand these parameters and these dynamics, you're definitely going to have a long career in broadcasting. You have to incorporate everything. You have to be funny, you have to be witty, you have to be serious, you have to be all those personalities if you want to captivate your audience.
And just before you go, Jupan, if I may add, I began working in radio in September, mid-September, and hosting voices inside the news, attending press conferences. I have asked questions, I have raised concerns, and people would meet me on the street and say, "Why are you asking that?
Really?
Yeah. You shouldn't ask that.
Oh.
You should ask this."
No.
It is not my job to push your agenda. It is my job to find out the truth.
Right.
How does it make you feel, though?
At first, I must be honest, I laughed.
Okay.
I laughed. But in speaking with my superior, Mr. Bacchus, and other people who work in the radio and media profession, I kind of get an understanding why. Because people really want to control you and tell you what to say, when to say, and if to say it, and how to say it. But I'm not about that. I'm about doing what I have to do and speaking truth and bringing light to an issue, whether it is bothering me or bothering family or someone that I know, or basically people in general. But I've been working in this field for just a short time, and asking questions, speaking about issues. People would meet me in church. People would meet me when I go for lunch, when I take a break for the headline news. And people said, no, you can't talk about that in the radio. You can't ask the politician that. No, don't do that. And I laugh.
Does it discourage you?
In the beginning, it did, I must say, because I was like, what's going on here? But now, I understand why. And every time they ask me, I think it propels me and it makes me go harder and harder and more and more.
Let me tell you what happened to me on Monday. A guy met me in the circus. He say, I don't like your program no more. He say, you talk too much about Timothy and not enough about Douglas. I say, okay, nice. Come, let's do something. I'm going to give you 1 hour tomorrow afternoon. Let's come and discuss. You tell me the things about Douglas that you love, and we could discuss them. You know what he told me? I'm so afraid because if I go on the radio, people mightn't see it as what I'm doing. Oh, Lord. I'm very disappointed. That is why I thankful to God we have people like Ike and radio and Edinburgh. The reason why radio around here isn't more popular with other DJs, they are afraid of repercussion. Ike don't care about repercussions. Well, me was. You can't come tell me by DuPont I hear you say something on radio and I don't believe Timothy gonna like it, I don't believe Mark Brantley gonna like it. Whether Timothy and Mark Brantley business. I am doing what I think good for the people. Repercussions on radio is one of the reasons why I believe firmly more people not involved in it. They are afraid. And it comes from the society we grew up in. Ike hinted a little bit to that earlier.
Right.
It's the kind of pressure we put on our people. Had it not been for that pressure, trust me, we would have been very big around here in radio. More people would have been on ZIZ. I couldn't get in ZIZ to do no program. Why? They figure I'm going to abuse the government. And of course, if the government good, what they might have forgotten then, if the government good, I'm going to say they're good. If the government ain't no good, I'll say they ain't no damn good. Not just ain't no good. I'll add the nice little radio bad word.
But as I said, in the beginning, I was a bit discouraged. But now, every time they ask me, every time they, harass me, it keeps me going.
Okay.
It keeps me going.
Well, to me, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. It keeps me going, and I don't want to back down. There's a song by this and that. He said, I ain't backing down for anybody.
Right. You know that song?
I remaining strong and standing tall.
Amen.
So when I
why you going right?
When I listen to that song, it keeps me going. But I understand that working in this field, working in radio, working in media journalism, is not going to be an easy walk in the park.
No, because you have to understand that everybody have their prejudices.
Yeah.
And everybody have their likes and dislikes. We are all not going to agree on every single issue. But what I try to teach on my radio program is that we could disagree and not be enemies. We could disagree on any issue. It doesn't matter what it is. You have your views and I have my views. They were formulated based on my experiences and yours were formulated based on yours.
Right.
That's your perspective. I may not agree with you, but we don't have to be enemies. We can come in a space where we can have open discussion and we can move along, because your views will remain your views regardless of how I feel and how I think. But some people, they want to take it to the extreme. If you don't conform to what I believe in, you're either stupid or you're dumb. And these are the kind of words that we use towards each other. So radio broadcasting amplifies that. It's just a magnifying glass being placed on society. So whatever you think radio or broadcasting is at any given time, it's a reflection of what's happening in the society. So if it doesn't happen there, what are we going to talk about?
Amen.
We're going to talk about.
And if I may add, and I often say to some of the callers, people like to belittle people, and unless you are in their position, you would never understand.
No.
If you're not poor, you're not going to understand how it feels to be poor.
You told me you're 20. You told us you're 20, you know.
20.
You're really 20? I hope I understand what you're saying.
It's the same thing you're over here thinking about. Who you think you trying to fool about 20?
So, well,
and when he quoted this and that song, like, 20. Nah, man.
Well, people tell me I don't operate like I'm 20. I operate like I'm older than that.
That's correct.
And that's a compliment. I take it as a compliment.
Yes,
you know?
You go to your grandmother, though?
Huh?
You go to your grandmother?
Yes, I am.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
But you know, when you think about this whole situation, sometimes you have to laugh, and sometimes you just gotta shake your head. You really, really, really gotta shake your head. But as I was saying, unless you're in the position, you may never understand.
Right.
Sometimes I'm here discussing an issue, and people would call and oppose, which is fine.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes what I can't understand is you not being rational or making an effort to understand the difficulties that people would face in general.
Yes.
You understand? And be completely blind, whether it is because you just don't care, because of a social problem, a political problem, whatever the issue may be. They just don't understand. And what I try to preach to people is that unless you're in the kitchen, you will never feel the heat.
Mm-hmm.
You will never feel the heat. That is what I try to teach people.
But our society is not one where we are encouraged to speak about issues.
No.
Even growing up, I had to feel and think and do whatever my mother instructed me to do. If I have an objection to it, I was not allowed to raise that objection. Otherwise, you were seen as being rude. Or you was...
Your mom deal with you like what?
Yeah.
Wow.
By Miss Lewis, you gonna think and feel what I want you to think. You understand? And it's only since I became, a man and, incorporated myself into broadcasting, I understand the importance of self-expression.
Yes.
You understand?
Amen.
I could come to you, Mr. Cornelius, and register an objection to something without being combative.
Mm-hmm.
But I move from here, as opposed to, could you please excuse me? Mm-hmm. There's a difference.
Yeah.
It all depends on the approach. And so that is why on radio we have topics that are quote-unquote taboo, like incest, topics like sexual abuse, physical abuse, because we weren't taught to express ourselves. Keep whatever you're feeling inside, and God gonna deal with it. Yeah, God may deal with it, but God help those who help themselves.
Amen.
And the hinge that squeak get the grease.
Yeah.
So you can't expect to get help if people don't know what you are going through. And so certain topics become taboo because the powers that be in society, and this is what I have found. I mean, when it comes to the abuse of women and children, which I hate to my core. I've seen it growing up. So I'm seeing it now as an adult. And so many people are practicing that nasty behavior. And whether it's a doing of your own making or because that's what you saw, that's what you live, you are a victim of it, that's still no excuse. And we are not a forgiving society where a man who may abuse women and children physically, we tend not to want to forgive and try to get him help. But in any field, everybody involved needs some form of help. You understand? Men need to understand that this is not the way to deal with certain situations. Deal with your anger. Deal with your frustration. Deal with whatever demons that you are battling with that causes you to act out. And so what I find is that some people in some very high positions, I'm talking about the movers and the shakers, practice this kind of behavior. And so when you, as a journalist or a radio presenter, raise this issue, you get pushed back because they know that they are guilty of it. So they don't want you to touch it to bring light to it. Now, what is the easier route to go, in my estimation? Get help. We need to begin to teach our society to be more loving and more forgiving and more understanding towards people. Because people who practice abuse were also themselves victims of abuse. The studies show. And so this to me is what broadcasting ought to be about. Teaching a society to be better as you go with any situation, political, whatever it is. That's just my approach to broadcasting.
And if I may add to that, where you spoke about abuse among women and children, I remember having a program, Voices, about that topic, and there was a comment that said, "Why am I talking about it now?" And
You mean you?
yeah, why am I talking about it now? Or what is the relevance or the importance of talking about it?
It should have been done already. The person mean?
No,
Or who are you to talk about it?
No, they're saying that don't talk about it because we pick and choose when to speak about it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We pick and choose when to speak about it. But my response was, this is about, let me not say relevance because it's an everyday issue. But the statistics would show that even though men, women, and children are being abused, some people never report it.
Right.
And so you never know. But for me, if it's a no issue, you have to talk about it now to get some kind of results. If you wait until next week and a year later, you miss the opportunity.
But we've been speaking about this, and we speak about it every single... I tell you, I've been on radio for 20 years.
But it's not even only on radio. When you walk to Bastia and you walk to Charlestown, people talk about it every day.
Every single day.
Every single day. Sometimes most of my programs are made up of comments and questions from people at the bars and the restaurants. So make it make sense. Why is it right for or wrong for me to come here and talk about it, but you talk about it every day?
I tell you what I found, because I've had comments like those already. I tell you what I found. The people who make those comments come from, in my estimation, two different spectrums. Is either one, they were a victim of it and did not get the help that they needed. And so in their minds, if I did not get the help, nobody else deserves to get the help. You understand? And that is also part of the trauma that they went through. And so they're bitter. For good reason, mind you. The other side of it is that is someone who is practicing it and don't want it to be spoken about because it will bring some form of light to them. Or a family member of theirs is practicing the same thing, and so they feel if this conversation becomes a hot button issue, then more and more people start to pay attention to it and go after their family. I have seen situations where politicians, even police officers, are involved in this kind of behavior, and they stand in the way of other people getting help. People reach, and it's not just males alone, women. I know of a situation where a woman police officer stood in the way of a situation being dealt with concerning a minor. A woman police, So now you as a radio broadcaster, as a presenter, who got children, who got family members, ain't supposed to go on the radio and talk about this thing? No. Because what? She could possibly lose she work? Where the hell you think your work be?
Amen. Here we go.
Your work is to serve and protect, not protect the criminals. It's to go after them. And if you don't do that, well, then you're going to with me.
Well, Ike, when we talk about these things, people get vexed.
Vexed?
People get vexed.
That's normal.
And you're not supposed to talk about it.
I'll just tell you why.
But for me, I can talk. For me, I can talk. And if you want to get offended, that's your business. I was talking about a specific topic the other day. And after I came off the radio, there was a person who called me and they basically, it was on a rant, outraged. So I extended an invitation to them.
Here we go.
I said, come on the program. They blocked me on WhatsApp. I never heard from them again. So what you call me for? What did you call me?
They don't want to bring it into the light.
To prove what point? But just before you continue, let's take a break to hear from our sponsors, and when we return, we will open the phone lines. For those of you who just tuned in, the numbers to call are 466-0989, 762 and 662. Then we have WhatsApp at 662-2204. Let's take this short break.
Gift for Dad's birthday? Click. Ooh, Janice's retirement party? Click. Outfit for my girl's wedding? Click.
With TDC Airbox, you click, we ship. Register for your free U.S. mailbox today and shop all your favorite stores online. Enjoy the convenience. Free consolidation up to £10. Competitive rates. Free package tracking account with live notifications. Free delivery and, of course, excellent customer service. Visit our website at tdcairbox.com and register today. For more information, visit our offices at the C.A. Paul Industrial Site in St. Kitts and Penny's Industrial Site in Nevis. Follow us on social media at TDC Airbox. TDC Airbox. You click, we ship. Terms and conditions apply.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Feel the magic happening.
Campari.
Taste.
Something incredible happens when Campari is mixed just right. Like Campari and orange juice poured over ice. Taste it. Try it tonight. Bitter, sweeter, better. Campari. Must be 18 years and older. Drink responsibly.
Welcome back to Voices right here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm here with E.K. Flanders and Carlton Dupont, and we are talking about the relevance of radio. Is radio still important? Why? Why not? Very, very good discussion. And of course, we'll wind up at 12 for the midday news. But we have about 15 minutes left. Let us continue with this discussion today.
I want to add something though. Something scares me about life now. The word father, I went and checked the dictionary, and it means someone who should start teaching younger ones what to do. But the Bible said children should be obedient to their parents. I'm not seeing children portraying those things these days, being obedient. So what has gone wrong with our communities in terms of families sitting down, having breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I don't hear that either. So I'm very worried that the society could become more loose if fathers not staying in their homes, having gotten this lady pregnant, you move on to the next home, you do the same thing. There's no togetherness among family like we used to see before long, long ago. And that is a serious problem for me. Oh, look, the Bible say in Ephesians 5:28, in the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. A man who loves his wife, love himself. For no man ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cherishes it. Each one of you must love his wife as he does himself. Do we see those things these days? Do we see husband and wife walking down the road, holding hands?
Be 1 in 10.
No, we don't see that. But I observe a family who owns a business down there they call opposite Rams, Shoreline Plaza. Do you know the husband and wife who own that building?
No.
Well, you're young still. I've been observing them, and you could see, I look at them, and they have a good coordination going on between the family. Look at the daughter with the mother, the daughter with the father. Real good. Shoreline Plaza, check them out. I think the guy named Mr. Rollins, who owns it. I've been looking at them for years. I want to see more people in family, husband and wife and family, moving around together, going driving together, walking up 4th Street together. That's why people so loose. Look at next problem I have on radio again. I say yesterday, thanks to the prison officer who allowed the 2 prisoners to come and see me yesterday. People have a problem with that. They say I should have never been able to see these 2 guys. You heard of 2 guys who doing well in prison?
Who got the
scholarship.
Scholarship, right?
Yeah, I don't know them. But they asked the prison official to see me. And they came yesterday to look for me. People tell me I got to be careful with them. Don't be too nice with them. I wonder why.
But they're human beings.
Yeah, but they're in prison, but they're serving the time. When they return back in society, we have to try to lift them from where they came from to a better way. I mean, I heard them on 106.9. I said, wait. I going around the island and mine tell me flip over to 106. I said, wait. This thing sound unreal. This is not St Kitts. And then the next day, I heard them on another station again with Nital. 90.3. I said, no, this is real now. I would like to meet those guys. Apparently, they heard it. They told them they want to see me. People told me I got to be careful with them. I don't believe we should deal with our people like that. All of us have sinned and fall short of the God standards.
But you see, why people object to certain things like this, Mr. Japan, is a simple word, listening. I find that in our society, we listen to respond and not listen to understand and learn.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Perhaps you're right.
You know, I hear it every day. People do not listen. No. You see how you sat there and you gave your full commentary? I'm here listening to hanging on every single word that you say. Not to respond, mind you, but to understand where is it you're coming from and how I can either lend to that or add to it, right? And so I think that people in our society need to do more listening. Less talking, more listening. You know?
So but that listen to understand.
Listen to understand. Listen to understand. No, you made a point about children not obeying their parents. But I love the other part of that verse. And ye fathers provoke not your children to wrath.
It's on the bottom of it.
Yeah, but we just stop up by the top.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
we don't go down to the bottom. Children are little human beings. We are all born with a certain level of understanding. And it is your duty as a parent to nurture, bring up your children in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Don't forget the part there. You understand? But if you don't have it, how could you impart it to a young human being?
Here we go.
Just how I deal with my family, just how I deal with my kids, it was taught to me. There were certain aspects that were basically absent. Like my father, he lives in St. Martin, so he didn't grow up with me. But I grew up with my mother's husband.
Oh.
He wasn't really too affectionate towards me. As a matter of fact, I grew up thinking that man just don't like me at all.
Oh.
Because he was affectionate with my other siblings, just not with me. And
what was the reason?
I don't know. I never had the conversation with him. But the respect and certain things that I observed, I took into account. And I said to myself, well, I don't want my children growing up feeling that way.
No.
So as a father, I see my kids every single day. If 2 days pass and me see me children, I feel like me are dead. So I don't understand how is it some man could have children and they ain't see them for 2 months, they ain't see them for 2 years, and still going about their life gingerly. I don't understand how they get it.
You got to check on them.
You don't know if your child eat today. You don't know if your child asleep. If he's sleeping on a bed, if he's sleeping with 5 other children, if your child comfortable, you're crazy. But these are things that you have to be taught. And so if we don't go on a serious drive, because I put a point to the politicians the other day, just like a wire come on radio and have a whole conversation and a whole campaign to get people to vote for you, or you could put the same effort into transforming our society. all the ills that people speak of on radio programs every single day, you guys have the power and the resources to move an entire nation. You basically had young people who never had anything to do with politics in the last election, putting on political shows and running up and down rallying. And then after that, what happened? They gone back to their lives.
Regular programming.
Back to regular programming. You understand? And no issues that they are raising ain't getting no attention because what? The politicians don't get what they want. No, some people might hear that and say, well, he don't hush him out. The country running good. Yes, but for who?
Well, you almost killed me the other day when you say some of them are run up and down the other day in election, baba with the party, now election done, they come ask you $20.
Yes,
but you know,
because your job as a government is to make sure that every single citizen, especially the most vulnerable amongst us, are taken care of on an economic front and a security front. You have to provide for that. I mean, I tell you, give them a handout, but provide the atmosphere for them to thrive. And if you ain't doing that, where the hell you're sitting in the seat for?
And you know, and I'm glad you said that. The other day I saw a post on Facebook. Things are hard, things are hard. And the comment was, it depends on who you ask.
Yep.
It depends on who you ask. And that was it right there, because if you ask John Doe if things are hard, he's going to tell you, what things are hard? I living good.
Good.
But if you ask Mary, I catching hell. I broke, I can't get the money.
And that's the way your focus is supposed to be as a government. But look, the other day, when this whole corona thing came about, I was on the radio championing the cause for entertainers, because, and not just entertainers, service providers, the whole tourism industry, it is entertainment oriented. That's what it is. Whether you want to call it tourism or whatever, tourism is driven by entertainment. Any form of entertainment, that is tourism, right? Because it revolves around catering to people and their needs. Some people got up and say, what the hell entertainment? What the hell I want just go to a party for? Because that's how they see it, because they don't understand the entertainment industry. When I say I want to have a party on the 20th of April, from the time I have the thought, things don't start to move. Businesses don't start to get touched. Printing, hair salons, nail salons, ice, sound system, DJs, radio stations. Everybody get touched just from me having that one simple idea. And I begin to spend money, and I know the party not come yet. Because you got to pay deposits. People don't start to buy clothes, so the shipping companies get in touch. The government get in touch, because when you bring in anything, you got to buy it back from customs again in order to get it. You understand? So just that simple event touches so many people, and you have to explain that to people. Some people didn't know. They didn't have a clue, and you couldn't blame them. So I began to teach. Now, I say all that to say this. I was good. Me not had to make no noise on the radio for nobody. Because during Corona, me work still. Broadcasting still going. I still having me speakers and so being rented out. So I was good. I position myself to be as multifaceted as possible. If no money I make over there, I got something over here, I make a little sugar cake. You understand? Yes. Me not just focus on that. So I was good as an entertainer. But he had other entertainers around me, my colleagues, who weren't good. I could have hushed me mouth and not said nothing because I was good. But how would that sit on my conscience as a radio personality and presenter, a mover and shaker in St Kitts and Nevis, if I don't shed light on their plight? If I don't alert the authorities that, hey, you got people over there now make no money, and they got children to support, they got bills to pay, they got people who depend on them. So you have a responsibility as a radio presenter, as a radio personality, to shed light on the things that need attention. Me could have hush me go Japan go, you know?
Yeah, man.
Since me a little boy Japan, that businessman successful.
Yep.
You understand? So he could hush him out because are we good? But if you do that, what happened to the most vulnerable amongst us? You have a responsibility to look after them. So just saying that, oh, another new business open, where they get their money from. But what happened to the people when I work?
And if I may add to that, for me, working in radio, media, you have to be able to speak for those who can't speak for themselves.
Ah.
There you go.
You have to be able to speak for those who can't.
You're only
speak for
20.
themselves.
Boy, was there for you, you're gonna have a bright career.
I'm telling you.
I try my best.
But it's good coming
you know,
here,
you gotta speak for those who can't speak for themselves, because Japan, he get people afraid. People afraid to talk.
Mm-hmm.
People are afraid, as you say, of the repercussions.
Oh.
But you say he ain't afraid of none.
Me?
He ain't afraid of none.
Repercussions.
But, you know, as I said, you gotta be able to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. When I walk down 4th Street, or at afternoons when I rush into head to the pier to go home to Nevis, or when I'm in Charlestown, restaurants, bars, mingling and talking to people.
Mm.
The stories that you hear, the concerns that you hear, the issues that they raise, sometimes you feel like, I can't even say politician, because these days our politicians don't really do anything at all to help people, in my opinion.
Are you sure the same thought?
Sometimes you feel like a politician listening to the cries of the people.
And would act.
And you go and you try to help.
Right.
That's how I feel. We have the issue about the severance. When I come here, I talk about it because my mother used to work in a hotel and she wants your money. So as long as I could talk about it, I am going to talk. And if you're offended, that's your business.
That's okay. That's normal in radio, though.
That's all right.
That's your business. But we are at 12 o'clock.
Yes.
So we're going to take a break for the headline news.
Mm-hmm.
And when we come back, stay tuned. We have lots more to talk about.
You found the sound. 98.9. WIN FM.
We now bring you the WINN FM Headline News. The WINN FM Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With the WIN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown.
And I am Devon Cornelius.
All we are asking is that we get a fair day in court, that we get somebody who would not be perceived to have any personal or political interest or affiliation to either party, so that we can have a fair trial. And that is what we are striving for justice in this case. I will not rest until justice is served, because this case is not about me. This case is really about the preservation of democracy here in St Kitts and Nevis, because what took place in the last election against the St Kitts and Nevis Labour Party, against the people of St Kitts and Nevis, with respect to the conducting of a fair election, was a travesty, and we have to do all that we can do to correct it.
That comment came from Dr. Terence Jew, chairman of the St Kitts Nevis Labour Party, SKNLP, and the candidate who contested the June 5th, 2020 general elections in constituency number 8. On the heels of the 2020 general elections, Dr. Drew filed private criminal charges against his opponent, the People's Action Movement PAM candidate Eugene Hamilton, accusing him of the offences of treating and bribery during the campaign leading up to Election Day. The case, which was filed on November 30th, 2020, had its first trial on Monday, February 1st, 2021. Dr. Drew's legal team, headed by Delano Bart, QC, argued that Magistrate Fitzroy Eddy should recuse himself from this matter.
First of all, after entering court, we ask that the magistrate should recuse himself from this case. Basically, because he lives in the constituency, he's a constituent of his area, and he voted in the last election. And so when it comes to court matter and who would, preside over these cases, one has to ask the question, in the mind of a fair-minded person, someone who has no interest, would they think that there can be any reason for bias? We are not saying, so it is a perception of bias that is questioned here. And if you have a magistrate who lives in the same constituency and who would have voted in the last election and who would have voted for one person making that political decision, he, of course, would already saying that he favors someone over the other. And in the mind of the fair-minded person, that person will think, well, there is room for bias. So the perception of bias is what we argue there. We also pointed out that the magistrate would have been working closely with people who would have been in the same cabinet as Eugene Hamilton. We know that he participated in incorporating a company for the then candidate for PAM of constituency number 1. And the other things that we are saying that the magistrate would know, based on our situation here in St Kitts, everybody knows who everybody is associated with in general. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows which meeting you have been to. The magistrate would think in his own mind, people are watching. Would they have seen me? Have I made utterances in public? Have I associated in public? And in that sense, can that create in the mind of a fair-minded person that there can be some sort of bias? So what we are striving for is to have a person to oversee the case where there are no issues, where bias or perception of bias, let me use the word perception of bias, can enter into the mind of the fair-minded person.
Magistrate Eddy heard arguments in the matter but has not recused himself from the case. The matter has been adjourned until Monday, February 8th, 2021. In the 2015 elections, Dr. Drew lost by near 300 votes to the PAM candidate Eugene Hamilton. In 2020, he missed the opportunity to represent the constituency by some 24 votes.
More infectious, a higher chance of reinfection, and an increased chance of death are how the three prevalent variants of the COVID-19 virus described. That is according to an update from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Hazel Laws, during her address on the February 2nd edition of Leadership Matters. The three variants originate from the United Kingdom, South Africa, and Brazil, and Dr. Laws gave some background on the variants and the difference from the novel coronavirus according to current research.
There are three SARS-CoV-2 variants of public health concern. They are the UK variant, the South African variant, and the Brazilian variant. The UK variant was identified through viral genomic sequencing in the United Kingdom in November 2020. This variant has been identified in at least 3 Caribbean member states so far, and in over 50 countries globally as of January 20. It is estimated to be 50 to 75% more transmissible than previous variants, but does not appear to increase reinfectivity. There is realistic possibility that infection with the UK variant is associated with an increased risk of death compared to infection with the non-variant virus. The second variant, the variant identified in South Africa, was first identified in October 2020. As of January 19, 2021, it has been identified in at least 20 countries or territories. It is more transmissible than previous variants. There is emerging evidence for the potential for reinfection. The third variant was first identified in December 2020 in Brazil. This variant has been identified in at least 3 countries or territories. There is the potential for increased transmissibility as well as reinfection. In essence, these variants are more transmissible, 2 are associated with an increased prospect of reinfection, and 1 seemed to be associated with a higher case fatality rate.
During her address, Dr. Laws stressed the importance of the non-pharmaceutical measures in preparation for if or when the variants arrive in our federation. However, that feat can only be accomplished if the current protocols are strictly adhered to in St Kitts and Nevis. According to Dr. Laws, the Federation is expected to receive 21,600 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which would inoculate 10,800 people or 20% of the Federation's population. Why? That is because the Oxford AstraZeneca has to be taken in 2 doses 4 weeks apart for maximum protection against the virus. Barring any hiccups with the emergency use approval of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine this week, February 1st to 6th, the delivery is expected to start from mid-February through the second quarter of 2021. Through the COVAX agreement, the Federation paid US $800,000 to guarantee access to approved COVID-19 vaccines, US $600,000 of which was sourced from the Republic of China on Taiwan, and US $200,000 from the Alba Bank, according to Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris. According to an article on the BBC, Germany, Austria, and France have indicated that they will only use the Oxford AstraZeneca on 18 to 64-year-olds because there is a lack of data on its protection of people 65 and older. However, AstraZeneca says clinical trial data supports efficacy in the over 65s age group. Also, in a release from AstraZeneca, they stated that the dosing regimen was shown to be safe and effective in preventing symptomatic COVID-19 14 days after the second dose, with no severe cases and no hospitalizations. In regional news,
this is the Carib Update News Service. I'm Wendy Chateau reporting. Barbados begins 2 weeks of lockdown. This is the big story we're tracking this hour on Wednesday, February 3, 2021. Details of this story and more straight ahead. Now for the details. Barbados, chastened by an increase in COVID infections in the last month, entered a 2-week lockdown Wednesday. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Mia Mottley again addressed the nation, appealing to nationals to buy into the effort. Mottley explained that these are difficult times, but expressed confidence they can rise above it. Close to 8,000 entrepreneurs and micro-business owners in Barbados have applied for the financial aid promised by government to tide them over the next 2 weeks of national pause. The House of Assembly Tuesday approved an emergency drawdown of $3.5 million from a supplementary amount in the 2020-2021 estimates to assist those who will be affected by the lockdown, which runs from today to February 17. Jamaica's Health and Wellness Minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says he will be meeting with key stakeholder groups over the next week to finalize plans to introduce the first set of COVID-19 vaccines. The talks will include the National Vaccine Commission, which is the group of stakeholders from the various sectors of society, and the National Coordinating Committee, which is the technical working group comprising of clinicians and other public health specialists. Tufton added that the ministry will also convene a meeting with private practitioners from across the island to discuss their role in the distribution of the vaccines, especially among the high-risk groups. Tufton told Parliament late Tuesday that Jamaica is set to receive doses of COVID-19 vaccine earlier than the April date, which was previously announced. Venezuela has released the Guyanese fishermen from 2 Guyanese vessels which it had detained last month that led to fresh tensions between Venezuela and the international community, government confirmed. The information was confirmed by Trinidad's Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. Amory Brown, following the release of the fishermen just before 7 p.m. last night. The 2 Guyanese fishing vessels, Lady Nayara and Seawolf, were intercepted last month by a Venezuelan naval vessel. TNT had stepped in on CARICOM's behalf last month when Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Minister Brown held discussions with Venezuelan Ambassador to TNT, Carlos Perez Silva, on the incident. This is Newsbreak from the Carib Update News Service. In more news, Puerto Rico is slated to receive more than $6 billion in federal funds to help prepare the U.S. territory for future hurricanes and other disasters, officials said Tuesday. The money assigned by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development would be used for infrastructure projects and economic development, among other things, Governor Pedro Peruzzi said. In addition, Puerto Rico now has access to $3.2 billion to continue rebuilding from Hurricanes Irma and Maria, said Peruzzi, who praised the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden for acting quickly. Congress had assigned U.S. $67 billion to help with the reconstruction efforts after the hurricanes devastated the island in September 2017. But of the $43 billion obligated, Puerto Rico has only received $18 billion amid concerns over how the money would be spent. British Virgin Islands Premier Andrew Foy is railing against the suggestion that funds that were approved for COVID-19 relief there might have been misappropriated. Speaking on a social media event, Foy said while he is not against the setup of the Commission of Inquiry, he questions the basis of the claim about bad spending of the COVID funds. He suggested the claim has wrongly tarnished the image of the BVI. The BVI leader also appeared to take a swipe at the now former governor, Augustus Jaspert, saying he had reported him many times to London, who he complained failed to act. He suggested that the former governor had acted many times beyond his remit. Bangladesh ended the first day of the first cricket test against West Indies on 242 for 5 after winning the toss and batting. Left-arm spinner Jomel Warrikan so far has 3 for 58. This has been another edition of Newsbreak from the Carib Update News Service, the Caribbean's newsroom. I am Wendy Chateau.
We now bring you this international report.
Many people might not remember, but when it was founded in 1995, Amazon.com was originally an online bookstore. In a quarter of a century, founder Jeff Bezos made it the world's biggest retailer, putting countless high street brick and mortar stores out of business. Amazon made shopping faster, cheaper, and easier. The company's success made Bezos the richest man in the world and the first person in history to accrue a net worth of $200 billion.
In any environment, there's always an opportunity to innovate and to disrupt and to, reshape the way the industry works. I mean, certainly Amazon is not the first, nor is it the last innovator who will disrupt a market. But what's significant about what Jeff Bezos has done is the magnitude of that disruption. There are very few markets that have been left untouched in some way as a result of what Amazon has become.
Bezos steps down as Amazon is posting record profits. Thanks to a rise in online purchases during COVID-19 lockdowns around the world, Amazon quarterly sales have reached more than $100 billion for the first time. But just weeks earlier, he lost the title of world's richest person to another tech entrepreneur, Elon Musk, founder of automaker Tesla and spaceflight company SpaceX. In 2000, 2 years earlier than SpaceX, Bezos founded his own aerospace company, Blue Origin. And just like Amazon, the company aims to make spaceflight cheaper, easier, and more accessible.
What he said in a letter to Amazon employees that he's going to stay with the company as executive chairman, but he wants to pursue other things, including helping Amazon launch new products, so being a bit of a visionary, starting up new projects. Also, the Washington Post, which he owns. He also owns a company that's competing in the space race, privatization of space. So he has a lot of interests, and I think he wants to be free to pursue the interests while at the same time keeping his hand in Amazon.
Whatever is next for Bezos, one thing is certain. He is more than likely to keep making staggering sums of money. Estimated earnings from Amazon have him on track to become the world's first trillionaire by 2026. Zain Basravi, Al Jazeera.
Built by a private company, SpaceX, Starship is designed to transport people deeper into space than ever before, and possibly take 100 people at a time to Mars. The first high-altitude test flight of the Starship prototype was carried out in December, stunning onlookers with a landing flip maneuver that, until that point, had never been done. The reusable spacecraft stabilizes itself in a controlled fall before landing, which didn't go so well the first time. Test vehicles are built to fail, so that later versions don't. Data from test flights are used to make improvements to the production line in Texas along the U.S.-Mexican border. The company's founder, Elon Musk, says they'll go through around 20 prototypes before it's operational. Starship will eventually tower 120 meters in the sky atop what's called a super heavy rocket, more powerful than the Saturn V used for the Apollo missions to the moon, and it'll launch from the sea. SpaceX recently purchased 2 decommissioned oil rigs for $3.5 million each and is converting them into floating spaceports. Musk says 1,000 Starships will be needed to build a city on Mars, and he's committing billions from his personal wealth to finance it.
Do you want the future where we become a spacefaring civilization and are in many worlds and are out there among the stars, or one where we are forever confined to Earth? And I say it is the first, and I hope you agree with me.
Fully reusable transportation systems have significantly reduced costs for each launch, for humans and cargo.
Multiple ships, then start building out the city, then making the city bigger, even bigger.
Even after defying expectations, Musk's critics doubt his billions will be enough to finance his dreams, a vision that will likely cost trillions of dollars to realize and will depend on future technology not yet invented. But for now, the next Starship is fully assembled and nearly ready for launch. Andrew Chappelle, Al Jazeera.
A trip to an emergency room in Tegucigalpa, Honduras 3 years ago changed Ana Lopez's life forever. That's when she learned for the first time that she was pregnant, between 20 and 25 weeks along.
I didn't visit the hospital because of a pregnancy. They were the ones who told me I was pregnant. But they said my child had been dead for 2 days. I didn't even know what to feel.
Ana says her emotional and physical trauma was suddenly made worse after doctors listed her emergency as an intentional termination of pregnancy, which in Honduras is a crime punishable by up to 6 years in prison.
I had some markings on my stomach, and because of those markings, they said it was an abortion. When I was discharged from the hospital, the police were already waiting.
Gabriela Giron, a defense attorney with the women's rights group Somos Muchas, says that more than 60 women or girls have faced prosecution in Honduras since 2012 under the country's strict anti-abortion laws.
In many cases, criminalization is due to obstetric emergencies that medical reports list as abortions, despite often being inconclusive. These reports are then used as evidence against women who can spend 3, 4 or more years locked in a judicial process that is long and exhausting.
In January of this year, feminist activists hoped Honduras might follow the lead of Argentina, where abortion was recently legalized up to 14 weeks into a pregnancy. But instead, Honduran lawmakers passed a constitutional reform, making it nearly impossible to ever legalize abortion in the future. Human rights organizations have called the legislation an assault on women's reproductive rights.
Honduras is currently one of the only few countries in the continent, in Latin America and the Caribbean, that completely ban abortions without any explicit exception, right? The country also has one of the highest rates of sexual violence in the world, with a woman reporting sexual violence every 3 hours.
The new constitutional amendment was championed by Honduras's ruling Conservative Party in what many see as an extreme political move as the country nears national elections, and where religion plays an oversized role in political decision-making. Around the world, abortion rates are higher in countries where abortions are banned, according to a 2017 global study. In Honduras, it's estimated that between 50 and 80,000 women risk their lives every year by resorting to clandestine abortion clinics. At 24 years old, Ana Lopez says having a criminal record has kept her from finding steady work or returning to school. Ana's criminal case remains open in the Honduran court system. If convicted, she faces a sentence of 3 to 6 years in prison for the, quote, interruption of life after the moment of conception. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera.
That was the WINN FM headline news, brought to you by KDP Enterprises, Caribbean Alliance, Carrie Brewery, CNC Trading, The Grange.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Trans-Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
Welcome back to Voices, right here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm here with E.K. Flanders and Carlton Dupont, and we are discussing the relevance of radio. Is it important? Why? Why not? Recommendations to improve radio and media services in the Federation and across the Caribbean region. And of course, we are touching on issues and different topics that you would hear on the radio and things that could change when you bring it up on the radio. Welcome back to Voices. We're going to start this second half of this conversation, and I think Ike has a lot more to say. So
yeah, a lot. I always got things to say. The importance of broadcasting, as I stated in the first half, is it depends on the society. And it can be used for many various reasons. And propaganda is one such of those reasons. Because at the toppling of corrupt leaders, leaders also saw how powerful broadcasting could be, and they started using it to their advantage. Hitler. I'm sure most people would know about the Holocaust and Hitler.
Yeah.
Hitler spread his propaganda via broadcasting for many years before he started making his moves to do what he did. Because if you say something long enough, then people start to believe it. Mm-hmm. And the propaganda that people put out there could, play on the minds of the unsuspecting and make them submissive or make them militant. Jim Jones. I mean, when radio and broadcasting got up and running in the 1920s, there was this lady, I can't remember her name, but she was an evangelist. And she was one of the persons who owned a broadcasting medium. And she used it to spread the gospel. And in those days, frequencies were limited. And so you had 2 and 3 different broadcasting mediums broadcasting on the same frequency. Mm-hmm. So you had enough interference. And she was the one who actually decided to get her own frequency. And he got the attention of Congress in America, and they began to fight against her. And she began to rally the people that listened to her in order to get them to get the people in Congress to back off of her and to allow her to do what she did. That was the power of radio. She rallied her masses of people using the gospel, and those people translate into votes. And the people them say, well, if you continue to mess with my radio program that is disseminating my gospel, I will not vote for you. And so the whole broadcasting corporations and these things were put into place to allow people to have their own frequencies. So this is the power of broadcasting. Mm-hmm. You could use it for any means. So its importance and relevance will forever be. As long as people, their message and their beliefs and their lives and their cultures are around, broadcasting will be around. You just have to know how to evolve it and how to incorporate other mediums such as the streaming, the videos, and what's not into broadcasting.
Great, man. What about you?
Well, in my thoughts down the road a while ago, I heard Ike mention about listening. So I got scared when he did, and I went to the Bible. Coming up the road just now, a scripture flipped into my mind. I want to read it. James chapter 1, 19 to 21, very quickly. Know this, my beloved brothers. Everyone must be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for man's anger does not bring about God's righteousness. Therefore, put away all filthiness and every trace of badness, and accept with mildness the implanting of the word that is able to save you. So one of the things about radio personalities have to take within consideration, a lot of people will be against you, but you can't take things personal against them. Once you do that, you're good to go. You have to operate in radio in a way where you almost know that people will come against you, because on radio it's so wide in the listenership. A lot of people would not go for you, the same as they're doing to me now. They don't like my show. They tell me, but only one problem I have with them. They don't like the show, but they're listening. So I still have a problem with that. I mean, how could you not like my show, but you're listening? Yeah. They're telling me everything in the first hour, in the second hour, but you're listening something you don't like. So what I try to do is respect people. Let me tell you something happened Saturday. This is what radio for, I believe. A man walked in the store. He asked me to do a job for him, a good job. I charge him half the money that I would normally charge. I like his spirit. From before, I send the young guy who working with me 3 years now to do the job. You know, when the man returned, because of the business and the store, and I had to stop him to do certain things, we couldn't get you the job in time. I told him to give me 20 more minutes. Because the guy can't work as fast as me, but he will do the same job. You would understand why. 3 years to 40. I'm 40 years in the job. You know what the man told me? Make that guy come from up there. I don't want him dealing with my ring. I didn't say anything to him, because had I opened my mouth, it could have been an explosion. I'll ask him, what stupidness you asking me, sir? Or you're telling me?
Right.
I have experience. You brought the job to the store. I wouldn't put him to do it except I realize or know he could take care of the job. So he went and he came back. He saw me polishing the ring and the guy fixing a watch. He said, you know why I'm glad for? The guy can't say he did my ring. But the guy did the ring. I was only polishing it, make it look bright. That's what radio for. Why anybody should act like that? You need to bring things like this out on the radio. When he came to the store first, if he didn't want Mahinger to touch his ring, he should have told me, I want this job done, but I only want you to do it.
Right.
That's a different thing.
Right.
But you leave it in the store.
The approach.
You spoke about it earlier, Ike, and that's why maybe people listen to Ike and myself. He mentioned that while I was talking, he was listening. Same thing. He touched a bit of that before. You got to be so careful when you're dealing with radio. And young man, you're only 20. Be careful with even your best friend who will tell you, make sure you say this. Whenever they say that, go home and study it. Why she or he want me to say that? Perhaps it might be in their own interest. Watch that, eh? Because nobody could tell me and Ike what to say. I'm absolutely sure. We're from Sunny Point, you know. And I'm absolutely sure what I'm telling you. You could suggest what we say. But you can't tell us what to say.
Yeah, man.
We got the presence of mind.
Yeah, I like those. I like those responses, those examples. And again, it is something that I too would want to do.
Tell me something, they call us freedom, because when I'm going down the road, everybody telling me, good program, good program.
We're going to open the phone lines shortly.
I see, I want to know if they're us.
No, man. I wanted to get the discussion going and then hear from the callers after. So we're going to open the phone lines again. The numbers to call are 466-0989. We have a caller right there. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices. We lost that caller. So yeah, we are still taking your calls of 466-0989, 762 and 662. We have a call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Bless.
Yes, I'd like to give my 2 cents worth on this whole question of the radio. There's no question really that the radio is important, despite the other means of communication. I think radio has held its own. At one point it was thought that TV would replace it, but obviously that did not happen. TV obviously have its limitations. And similarly, it was thought that social media may replace it too, but that has not happened either. I think people assign more credibility to radio because it is still governed by a set of rules. You can't just say what you like on radio. Even though Mr. Dupont sometimes push the limits a bit. Mr. Dupont?
Good afternoon, my brother.
Yeah. Ike said people must do less talking and more listening. Well, what about reading? Okay, you notice newspapers have virtually disappeared. People don't seem to read books like once ago. And it's important because a lot of ideas are in books. And the fancy media was not around when a lot of them were written. So they are not yet recorded. And why are ideas important? It gives balance to our lives. It determines what values are important. And they effect change, okay? That's why, for instance, I know Mr. Dupont's views are, well, in some respects I agree with him, and in some respects I don't. They are kind of polar opposites. But it's important that we get different ideas out there, different perspectives. That's why I have accepted his invitation, EK's invitation, anybody's invitation to join them on their program, okay? So I continue with the program. Just realize that nobody has a monopoly on opinion or ideas, okay, or what's right or wrong, all right? And you have to be conscious too that, you are in a position to influence opinion. So you should be careful with what you promote and what you say. I mean, it's not just EK talking or Mr. Dupont talking. Sure, you can give your views, but realize that there's a whole lot of people out there who are listening to you, okay? And expect the criticism, okay, and blowback. For there's this tendency, when you speak out, they go and dig up dirt on you, right? Politicians in particular are guilty of this. Even if they don't do it themselves, they send out their attack dogs and the surrogates after you, okay? And many of them don't know any better, They pick up whatever they tell them to say, and they come and spray it out on your program, right? And so I think there's need to recognize that they can damage not only your reputation, but the reputation of the station. And remember, too, that whereas once ago you used to reach thousands, now you can reach millions, and you should always be conscious of the audience you're trying to reach. I mean, is it young, old, just citizens? I sometimes wonder what people in other jurisdictions think of Kittitians when I hear what's on radio, okay? I mean, are you going to be like the mainstream, how the mainstream newspapers and the medias were, or are you going to be more tabloid-like or gossip column-like, right? I guess you can say there's a market for all of that, and I would be interested to know how each of you see yourselves on radio as, are you, in the current environment, are you entertainment, information providers, political analysts, change agents, or all of the above? And one final point. I was thinking about this the other day. You guys' jobs must be really hard. I mean, people think you just sit there in the studio and jam music and or take calls, but you have to do more than that. And now with the internet, people can see your mood as well. They don't just hear it in your voices, okay? And there are a lot of ignorant people who call in live, and you have to keep your eyes on the delay button or pause button, whatever you want to call it, and interrupt them. Okay? Otherwise, like I said, they may just do foolishness and continue maligning people and get you in trouble, right? And not only that, you have to be well informed and well researched to challenge the opinion and alternative facts that people bring. Okay? One of the things I pride myself in is the fact that although I've been calling in for several years, I have never had to be called out for any comment I've made. Okay? People might not agree with them, but to say that it's libelous or anything like that, never. Not even once. Okay? And I think that's because I follow the rule, the same rule that I do on when I make comments on Facebook. Right? Don't post or say anything that I can't repeat without getting into trouble. Right. And it has worked for me. So I admire you guys for what you do. Keep on aiming for higher standards in broadcasting, and good luck.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Thank you so much, caller. You have any comment?
He asked a question, where do we see ourselves on the spectrum of radio broadcasting? I would say all of the above. As I told you off mic, you have to make yourself more marketable, and you have to keep yourself relevant. So you must know the market that you're trying to reach. You must understand the people who you are communicating with. You have to understand them. You have to go where they are, see what they're thinking, what their ebb and flow is, where they come from, so that you could better cater to them. How you have to know how to talk to them specifically, speak their language, so to speak. Entertainment, political analysts, information, too much into the gossiping. The facts and stats is what I deal with. I'm an Aquarius, and I don't do the emotional, feely things. I about facts, stats, and logic. Yeah.
Just before you continue, we have a call. Let's take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Mr. Cornelius, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to the panel.
Bless.
Good, my friend.
Man without luck.
Good afternoon.
Calling from across the water.
Montserrat. Montserrat.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
Yeah. At the first time, where you operate?
106.5 Freedom, but I know you're good though. You're Mr. Montserrat. I listen to you all the time.
Yeah, man.
And you find me honestly or how you find me?
You're usually balanced. Sometimes you think they go off on a little tangent, but on a whole, you're usually balanced.
We need to get to heaven, so we have to be balanced.
Indeed.
You get me?
Yeah, man.
And yeah, we have to be balanced. And the truth about it is that, mind you, when they hit mind you, they have to cut out friends and family, because the moment that you talk and you think about one friend there, you're going to get compromised. So if you hit one point and you talk straight. Some will get offended, some not get offended. Some are going to love you. I mean, I'm naive. You know, plenty of people like me. You get me? But they go hit my point, and they go got something to back up my point. You know? So, well, I Mr. Dupan, let me find this radio station. In the night when it's kind of boring and we just go to channels, just go to, and we find Dupan live. And from there, start to listen to at night time. Afterwards and, so forth and so. Until when we start to come on the daytime show. So every time we think about WINN FM, we think about the Rasta man without luck. That's a mind a little bit. I'm really listening.
All right, my
okay
lad.
then.
Thank you so much. We will be taking calls up until 1 o'clock, and then from then we will continue the discussion. Do we have any more calls? No more calls. Let us continue this discussion. So we're talking about radio, and we're in a pandemic. Radio, COVID-19. In your opinion, how has COVID-19 changed the radio world? But just before you answer that, let us take this other call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I need to say this to EK and
DuPont.
When I was going to school, I learned something like this. And all bird once sat on an oak. The more he sat, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why are we not like that wise old bird? That I learned in school since I was a little child. Anyhow, good program. Keep it up.
I wish the lady had
Thank
stayed
you so much.
Did you find what she was saying?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm off track. I didn't understand. Anyway, Mr. McMahon said something that make me feel real good. Any call come, let it come.
Yeah.
Any call come in.
Let's take this other call.
Yeah, let's
Good
take the
afternoon,
calls.
caller. You are live on Voices.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I wish to say good afternoon to the panelists, Mr.
Good.
DuPont and
Yes.
Mr. EK.
Blessed day.
And you, Mr. Cornelia. You seems like you are the baby. In terms of, to be honest, in terms of you say time, longevity.
Yes.
Considering you're just 20, but it doesn't. That age does not befit you. You have fit in so seasonally in terms of broadcasting. I've listened to you for quite over like a big 2-3 months, if it's that long. And we have had dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Mr. DuPont and Mr. EK somewhat in another years on their own because they have been quite around for quite some time. And they are seasoned, so to speak. And as time goes on, they are maturing also. But you has just come to the fore. I hasn't heard your voice on any other radio station program before.
Mm-hmm.
And just started to listen to you because you are the host of a program which is so famous, Voices program, and I had listened to and had made contributions ever since Mrs. Tony Fredericks took up the mantle from, I think it was Mr. Ferguson, if my recollection is correct. And I was always considered to be a shy person and never had the fortitude, did not know that fortitude was a part of my making, my fiber, so to speak, to really approach the public and speak on such a considering I am listened to and we are listened to by others, and our responsibility when we come to the fore is to speak bold, to speak the truth, to try to be as accurate. And at time, if you are in error, admit and give kudos to the person who might have brought the correction to you in terms of your accuracy. Sometimes it's data. You have gotten, off course in terms of a particular date in history or whatever. But basically, I'm just like in between. There were times when I would have voiced my opinion in terms of the political sphere, but other times I'm more like cultural based, social cultural based, and in terms of a historic perspective. That's basically it. But this conversation that you all are having now is timely. We haven't heard like-minded persons have gotten together and come to the fore. We would have heard Mr. DuPont on his show, Mr. EK on his show, and yourself on your show, but as like-minded person coming together and seeing, and what Mr. Gentleman said, Mr. McMahon said, yes, the question he posed, this goes for introspection in terms of where you see yourselves down the road. And someone just asked about what would be the challenge of this COVID to broadcasting, and so I think, the media has a role to play in terms of information, but how can we balance it? Because we are living in vulnerable communities where information is good, but somehow some of it is shrouded in a sort of like imposing way that it can bring about, if not being careful, it can bring about a fear factor. Because you keep hearing something over and over and over like a broken record. It affects you in more ways than one, negative or positive. So how could we balance it in terms of media as to how we're bringing this information to the fore? Knowing that today, everything seems like it's weaponized, including media,
right,
including medicine, including food, including so much what the youth like today, the marijuana, the different strains of it today. It seems like it's weaponized. It comes as a weapon in terms of how it is being unfolded to us. So, it's timely that you all are having this conversation, and I myself do come and make my contribution in my own little way, because I think I am inspired also, like others, to really give back to society in more ways than one. I'm from a community in the Newtown area, and I have continue to do my part and lending my voice. As I traverse the Bastille Street, I get comments. If I speak one or two words and persons will recognize my voice, I get comments. So I am encouraged by persons to listen. Thanks for listening. Keep up the good work.
And thank you so much for your call. We are still taking calls right up until 1 o'clock, and then from that, we'll continue. We have any more calls? Okay.
All right.
Let us go ahead.
Yeah, the question that you posed before the call about how has broadcasting been during the COVID time. Again, it speaks to what broadcasting actually is and its purpose. Now, in times of crisis, you understand the importance of broadcasting for disseminating information and disseminating that information in real time so that the masses of the people could understand what they're dealing with. If they need to make certain preparations, they can do so. If there needs to be a shift in thinking or behavior, you can also disseminate that information at that time and to get everybody to move in one accord. For us here in St Kitts, during the corona lockdown and what have you, broadcasting took on another form in terms of sharing information as well as entertainment. Entertainment in the sense of providing some form of mental calm and relief to people. So we also had that responsibility as broadcasters to provide some form of relief, because human beings are multifaceted. And what I learned during this corona thing is that a lot of people don't understand the importance of entertainment to human beings. Entertainment can come in any form. Some people find entertainment in listening to different genres of music. What dancehall does for certain people is the very same thing that jazz do for another group of people. It's the same thing that gospel does for somebody else. It provides some form of relief in some way, shape, or form. It's therapeutic. You looking at a movie or looking at art is the same thing. It provides some form of therapy during a time of crisis. And so we set out to bring some form of calm and peace and entertainment to the people that, we cater to. Because it was a very stressful time to have people locked in the same space for that length of period, their movement restricted. It played on people mentally, and we found that a lot of issues that we did not pay close attention to, we had to then, because it manifested itself because of the lockdown. So for me, it was a reconnecting with my fan base and also to get new people on board, you know, and bring us closer together to form that bond and, you know, to teach us to look out for our neighbors, you know. So that to me renewed my love for broadcasting during the Corona time.
Mm-hmm. And before you go deeper, we
have a call.
Let's take the calls, man. It's okay with me. No, I'm cool. I'm cool. Trust me.
Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I was wondering when will I get my turn? Out of order. Out of order. Anyway, good afternoon to all the listeners at home and abroad. Good afternoon, Mr. Montserrat. Radio has always been my love. Radio. And I think we underestimate the power of the radio. Now, for my child, you know, when growing up and so, well, we didn't have a radio, but my neighbors had one. And you would hear the radio. I recall being small, looking at the wire, you know, and wondering how the people got from the wire to the radio. You know, the people talking in the radio. I was fascinated. And I don't know how many persons recall in the old-time days, we used to have school broadcasting. Everybody there playing young. But in the 70s and early 80s, the Ministry of Education had school broadcasting. And I used to write and produce programs for the school. When I was teaching at the Irish Town School, I taught there from 73 to 78. And, you know, while the programs were for the children, adults were learning. And, you know, I went to Jamaica to study, and there was a vast variety of programs on the radio, which I have been pushing for. Radio psychology, radio lawyer, radio doctor. I mean, you name it. And then I come back here, and at first there was nothing much, you know, you send a request and that kind of stuff. And I just said, look, our people would be better off, more grounded, if we use the radio effectively to educate our people. There has always been entertainment, always. But the education part, I think, was lacking. And, you know, I welcomed these talk shows. But then you will have election, and, of course, people going off in angles. And somebody used the word weaponize. And so a lot of our talks will become compromised. Is that the views were the announcers or whoever, whatever they said, I mean, it was not based on either facts, nothing, more fiction or propaganda. And that brought me into the radio talk shows. One, because of my occupation, my previous occupation as a statistician. I believe in facts and stats. I mean, I heard Ike say, you know, facts and stats is what I believe in, not what I think, not what people think or just see. And so, you know, I came on the scene to help to balance out, to educate. And I wish our radio announcers would take the time that goes for all to do their research. I always say, if you're going to talk about a topic, research it. Because there are people out there who are listening who take what we say, not we, the announcer say as gospel. They take what they say as gospel. So if you mislead, then it is difficult to get them to change their minds. And another thing I would say, I listen to all the shows. And it was now since March. I have been at home since March, so I am free. And the radio helps me to get over the boredom. You know what I mean? Radio is therapy, you know. If I didn't have the radio, I'd be bored. You know, because I'm accustomed to interact with people all day. So, you know, and think about the different age groups. Now, Ike does a good job for the young people. And I keep praying for him, you know. Japan too. And I want our people to think of the impact that you make when you say or do something. Mr. Japan too. Think about the impact you make, not just what you're saying. What is the intended objective of what you're saying or doing? And you will find out, as Mr. Cornelius said, whenever he goes out of the radio station, people meet him and tell him what they think. What they think may be important to them, and you listen. You listen, you may learn. You may learn. You don't have to agree with people, because we are by nature, most of us, biased. And a lot of us are uninformed or misled. And so I think it is the duty of the radio, announcer, speaker, whatever you DJ, to elevate our people. Our people are, I'm trying to find the right word, but we need help. You know, sometimes it bothers me. You know, you make, I call into most of the shows. Nevis one, St Kitts own. And sometimes you're presenting the facts and the stats and so. And our people don't seem to understand that you can object without being personal. Instead of addressing the issue, people become personal. So what it does, it intimidates other people who would wish to participate. And it is the duty, therefore, of the person who is conducting the show to help to direct the course. You know, direct the course. Say, well, look, you may not agree with Cornelius, but listen, as you say, some people listen to respond, not to learn. I learned so much from the radio, and I want to encourage our radio announcers and whatever. And I call upon Mr. Bacchus. Mr. Bacchus was once the president of the Caribbean Media Association to conduct training, I keep saying it, conduct training sessions. Not that I don't think that you don't know or you don't know what you're doing. That's not the issue. When you are professionally trained, it is seen in the way you operate. You know, sometimes because we're not trained, we learn on the job. Sometimes we learn after we have made mistakes. And there are some people very unforgiving. They don't, oh, I don't want to hear Ike. Oh, I don't want to hear Jupant. Oh, I don't want to hear Cornelius because he says so and so. You're not learning anything. You're in fact depriving yourself. And I must commend Cornelius, a young man, and the young people that he brings. I listen. These who come on in the morning, I listen. I learn. I learn the way that they think. And I'm calling upon all the radio stations to increase, broaden your scope. We don't just want to hear music and talk shows. We want to hear educational things. We have too many graduates here who are financed by the government. They went over to get the educational scholarships. Or if they pay, the government pay the economic costs. They owe it to the masses. We like the word masses, you know. Masses also like people ignorant. But they owe it to the masses to educate them, to provide services. We talk about, oh, you got all kind of domestic violence. There should be a radio call-in show with the radio psychologist.
Right.
You know?
Right,
the lawyer, why do I have to go pay a lawyer $100 to ask him a question? I mean, before you open your mouth, they want 100. They want 120.
But Miss Henry, we do that on a regular. When we have talk shows, we get the psychologists, we get the lawyers, we get the police.
You understand what I'm saying?
We get the thing. We have PSAs that we run about domestic abuse, the numbers that you can call.
No, what I'm talking
people.
about. No, I'm not just talking about that. I'm saying.
What?
You see, look how you have issues.
Mm-hmm.
In the program, because sometimes you're ready to play music. Have slots in which you have these programs. Even the education, school closing and people.
But
a lot of the radio time could have been used producing getting programs on education and play them.
What we
It
do,
will
that's
make
what I'm
the
saying to you.
parents' jobs easier because they will learn along with the children.
What we do.
But I must compliment all of you,
All right.
for the effort. Compliment all of you for the effort.
Thank you so much.
But I demand more.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Henry, for your input. I always look forward to your input.
Indeed.
Let us take this. You have any more calls? We are approaching. It's soon 1:30, so we really gotta.
No, but we are
get
radio
going.
personalities. It might be good if we take a couple more calls. We hear what people have to say.
Well, the phone lines are indeed open, so we are still taking your calls. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Good afternoon, Chevron.
Devon, good afternoon.
Japan. And Ike, my friend.
Where's him jam down? What's going on?
I hear you. I want you to respect her, you know. I don't want you going on the road with Junie. There's a lot to learn from her.
What are you talking about, though?
Anyway, where they gone in issues. You have a lot of potential in Ike, and I don't want you going on the road. We got to respect one another when we in the media. Ike, Mr. Japan, I heard you was talking about family. What we used to have in St Kitts, this unique country, years ago, walking up 4th Street, loved ones holding hands, and we diverting from it. You know why we diverting?
No.
Because we got some kind of things happening in the ghettos. Real. Some people changing the culture. And we can, you all, Ike, you and Chevron and other radio hosts have to be the police, the doctor, and the prime minister, the politician them. We want you all to guide us. Use the radio and guide us. Japan.
Go. I'm hearing
Come
you.
here to let you know that we cannot allow people to taking up the side wall. And do not go on your show and talking these nonsense. You know better. I know you know better. We have some people in themselves in some position in Bastille where not even the ambulance who come behind at the Treasury airport. You had a man dropped down behind you. In fact, a man knocked down lines, mash up his face. And I didn't hear, but I come to the mall and hear a fellow shouting, saying, "Oh, you running?" The man knocked down line, mash up his face and run. I reach one, call the ambulance, they take up line up the hospital. Line 30, he take in the seizures and fall down. Yeah, no, this man knock him down. But we see who the man be, because I never know who the man be. I went and I get the Indians and play back the camera and we know who the man be. But Japan, I say that to say this, we have an empty market down there. 188 stores. We cannot allow this. And I want you to listen to me clearly, because you know better. And I know you know better. And I know you love the country. And I know you can love the country. And Chevron as well. Larry think it's make what it's supposed to. You got to market down there, can't make money. But people down there paying what permit and the road, making lots of money. And the market can make a help me to pay workers down there. It can't work like this. Anyway, gentlemen, you are doing a great job. But I want I to be the doctors and the lawyers. And even the street man like to bring the information. And don't watch no faces. Culture tell me music, who heal you. So when I come to our shows and talk, I don't care who talk. Culture, Josephine in Jamaica tell me heal who heal you. TK, have a good day, my brethren.
All right, brethren. Bless up yourself.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And, as you say, we'll try. We tried it with the lawyers. We tried it with the doctors. But let us take another call right here on our program. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
I truly appreciate this program with Uncle Licky.
Yes.
TK, and the youngster there. Somebody indicated that the host of program, they could either make or break the persons in our society. And that is a fact. But one would have to be mindful that the radio station cannot run off of water. You need to generate that income for that radio station. And as such, you have to know about your target audience. Ike, for example, might get on very well with the younger generation and the type of music that he would play at a particular time. In that time, he said that he has problem understanding the lyrical content of some of them. But he might still have to play them. Those are the persons who are listening. And then, based on the popularity of a program, a business place might want to buy a spot. In other words, have an advertisement played at a particular juncture, either when EK is on or when Licky Bud is on. You understand? And these are the things that would generate income. I have a program in Sugar City. Licky has a program in Sugar City. But people might choose to advertise, have the advertisement play when Uncle Licky is on, rather than when I am on, because he has a good listenership. Maybe we reverse for other people. So based on the listenership, people would choose spots. If they choose a spot on my show, they might just have to pay maybe $10 an hour. If they want a spot on Uncle Licky's show, they might have to pay $110 an hour. You understand? Or a minute or whatever it is. Just to do the comparative analysis. So it depends on who is hosting the show. And you have audience who would not call in, but they will give you feedback when you meet on the road. They will send you messages. So, you know, people are listening. Some radio stations, they have ways of working out listenership. And when you can do that, you can have an idea of how well your program is doing and how well it can serve the radio station to generate revenue. Because I'm not going to advertise something, maybe clothing or something for young people and try it on top of Nital program. Because maybe just the older folks them listening and those who are in tune with a particular slant. Now in EK, let's go on at afternoon at around 3 o'clock, 3:30. Everybody tune in. You got to start a DNA music that he plays. The young people are in it. You understand? So if you want to advertise on your arrival of clothing, and you know it's like last thing first out, following the accounting strategy. When you sell, it's the last thing and go first out. So then you're talking to the appropriate audience, the young people. So you have to pick your program. And somebody who wants a spot on that program might have to pay more than a spot on another program on the same freedom. So it's the audience, but you have to keep at the nucleus of consideration is how can you generate the fuel to keep the radio station going. It's all right to have educational program.
Right, caller.
It's all right. But some persons might not relish them as much. So the listenership might not be up much. And then nobody gonna want to advertise on that spot. Regardless of what, they want a different spot and they know who the target audience would be for the business promotion. So it's a very delicate equilibrium to establish who your audience would be and what is the purpose of increasing the quality of the program so that you can attract potential sponsors. Because sponsors want to pay. Sponsors want to pay for a spot that would generate the patronizing of their product or services. It is very, very delicate.
Right.
And it is not so easy to say just bring educational programs. You have to mix it. You have to know who you're targeting. You want to know who your sponsors them would like to hear their promotion at a particular time of the day. You know, radio, it depends on what time of the day you're advertising and whose program you're advertising on, that the hourly rate or the minute rate would go up. But nice program. And we need a lot more of this where people can go to different radio stations and put the play out there and try to help out the radio station. They need fuel to maintain the energy for the radio station to be sustained. They have staff to pay.
Right.
They're just not playing for anybody.
Yes.
What will generate the revenue to keep the radio station sustained in a financial way? Thanks much, guys.
Thank you so much for your input. You Ike, as you...
Yes, I got to make a quick run to prepare for my show as well. But, I want to echo what this caller is saying. And this is why I was saying to Ms. Henry that we do. And it may not be in the form that appeals to her, but we do. And this is why you see people like me and Jupan, we have the kind of following that we have, because we not only come on the radio and just entertain you with music and, colorful commentary, we also try to incorporate a bit of education into our presentation, talking about life situation, how you deal with your kids, businesses, the whole 9 yards.
It happens.
That's what I said at the top of my presentation. If you want your radio station to be relevant and to continue to grow, you have to evolve with what's happening in the society. And as a presenter, you have to more or less evolve yourself with it, to incorporate it. What I'm doing now, I've been on radio for 20 years. And I think that I have grown over the period of time to make myself relevant all the time. I have an intro that lasts for at least an hour. Main thing, you got another radio host that has an intro that lasts for an hour. Because what I find is that what I want to say, sometimes I say it during when people listening to music. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Let me say all what I got to say to the top of the show.
Yes.
Get it out of the way, and then just run music down to the end. You understand? just to incorporate everybody into it. So I talk a little bit of melee, I talk a little bit of education, I talk a little bit of politics, whatever going on currently, bam, 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 I give you a nice little package where you could laugh and say, oh, boy, yeah, it's China EK, boom, and I got on the road with you again. So it may not come in the form of just say, okay, the next hour coming up, we're going to have an educational promotion about lawyers and law and doctors. No, it's not going to catch everybody. So you got to find a creative way, an entertaining way to get the information to the people. It's all about the approach.
I agree.
You understand? So to Miss Henry and that both of them are right, but as radio presenters and as radio owners, we have to find creative ways of reaching our audience. With that, I'll just bid you guys adieu, and I hope that we could have a part 2 to this.
It was nice. It was nice.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, very
and
nice.
people, you see me and jump out in the studio together and I think I go on between now. I'm going to go for a way again, I'm going to touch him up today. I'm going to come here and touch him back up. And it makes for good radio.
Yeah.
But the respect that I have for Mr. Jupan, it transcends radio, because as a young man, I would watch him growing up, and to see that he's a very successful man and how he has lived his life. May not always be the best, but hey, who among us perfect?
Definitely. Yeah.
You understand? So it's how you grow, and I've watched him grow, and I've taken little hints from him here and there, listen to his program and try to incorporate it into mine, because I want the audience too.
Yeah.
You understand? It's all about the sugar cake at the end of the day. So, Mr. Cornelius, thanks again. Thanks to WINN FM for the invitation. Man. And I hope that I could come back for a part 2 if you do have one.
Definitely,
right.
definitely. And thank you so much for joining us. Let us just hear from the sponsors shortly, and when we return, it's going to be me and Dupont to close out this very exciting program. Ige, thank you again, man.
Great.
Ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV, connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD, plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Power up in February at Horsford's Value Mart IGA. Yes! In February, we are giving you 3 ways to power up. 1. Power up for your Value Club points in February. Yes! For the first time ever, every Value Club customer will earn double point on all Value Club purchases at Value Mart in St Kitts and Nevis. 2. Power up in our Power Play, where lucky customers will win their purchase free. Just listen out for the Power Play alert, and if you are at the Mystery Power Register of the day, you win your purchase absolutely free with double points and more. 3. Power up your saving with the Horsford's Value Mart Red Tag Value Deal. Yes! Power up with the savings with huge discount on select value deals items. Power up your points. Power up your saving. Win your purchase free in our Power Play. Power up February at Horsford's Value Mart IGA. Don't miss it.
Terms and conditions apply.
You better.
Welcome back to Voices right here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius, and you are listening to EK and DuPont. We're talking about the relevance of radio, the importance of radio. But I will allow DuPont to close out this program today with his presentation. Go ahead.
In the Bible book of Ephesians 6:12, it says, because we have a struggle, but not against blood and flesh. I heard Mr. McMahon calling in today, and I was so pleased. You know, I want people in St. Kitts to understand that there is a difference in thinking ability between Mr. McMahon and myself, but we are not enemies. I have never seen any human being in St. Kitts or Nevis that I have had discrepancies with, and still we could meet and have such fruitful conversation like Mr. McMahon. Mm-hmm. And this program is an important program to me. I want people to understand that when you listen to Mr. McMahon, don't hate him for the things he say. Mm-hmm. Try and analyze what he's talking about. And as Sylvian said, you got to try and get the information. Mm-hmm. Another thing I want people to understand, when I started out on radio not expecting to be this far now. But of late, in the last 3-4 months, Tango, my greatest friend on earth, explained to me that, in his opinion, a lot of people listen to my shows. You know what I'm doing? Not actually changing the show, but I have to put some other things which I wouldn't say to the public, to the show. Pull out certain things and add certain things. Why? Because when I look at the amount of people in society who comes down to the store, elderly people, and tell me about the program, they don't normally say these things to other people. When I look at young people who will come to the store and call me outside for a 2-minute meeting, thank you for the program. I've learned so much from you. My listenership on radio is huge, but the amount of different type of people and what they do listen to the program tells me, channel me, propel me to hold on certain things. In spite of the fact that when I make comment like this, people will ring me right away and say, DuPont, no man, me ain't feel good. It look like you're going to change the show. It's not a matter of changing the show. It's a matter of channeling the show to suit the listeners who listening. So radio is dynamic. A lot of people don't realize it. You want to know how dynamic radio is or how serious it is on radio? Malign people. Say all manner of things about people in community and society. You wouldn't have enough money to clear yourself at the court. Mm-hmm. But I like what Mr. McMahon say. You know what he say? If we go back to the tape, sometime Mr. DuPont will go a little bit off. Because I'm a half man. The type of things that I will say on radio, a lot of people not prepared to say. But I'm very careful because I always remind myself of what Mr. Bacchus and Tony Frederick taught me.
Yes.
And I always remind myself of what Emile Ferdinand and others taught me right in the same room. And this was my seat. I don't know how it happened. Right here, I have learned so much things in radio from WINN FM that even when I want to say something like this morning on my program, I hold it back. Because when you don't say something on radio,
can't take it right.
You can't throw a fishing rod and pull it back in.
Can't do that.
And I want people to understand, when Sylvian call in on the radio, you will not always like her expressions. but I count her as a mother of this nation. I've learned a lot of things listening to Sylvine.
A lot.
Young people can benefit tremendously from Sylvine. And through the COVID, radio survival in the COVID, I wish I had a pass and was on radio in COVID. Because if I had the opportunity to broadcast when COVID was in the heat, in the May, the June, July, August, I would have had even bigger audience. Because in COVID, with radio, lots of people can learn more things. Why? Sylvine make mention of it. You're inside. And you're listening to radio because I haven't watched television for 8 months, No television, absolutely. Not even ZIZ. Yeah, but in the COVID situation, without radio, I think St. Kitts could have been in trouble. You know why? I want to say congratulations to Kittitians and Nevisians for applying themselves to the instruction that were given by Dr. Laws and the others who channel and fight this COVID thing. And St. Kitts, this morning I say it on my program, I am very joyous of the fact that Dr. Wilkinson and all the others worked so hard to keep us where we are now. It could not happen without Kittitians and Nevisians applying themselves to the lessons that were given by these people. A tremendous job. We cannot praise Dr. Laws and Wilkinson and Lesroy and the gentleman from the police, Henry. No, next guy named something Samuels. They have worked so hard, and sometimes even laying down on my bed at nights, meditating on good things, quality things. I wonder how they get it do. I wonder how they were able to put all these things in place. And then the Prime Minister went out and said, this is what we have to do. And we followed. It shows me something, that in St. Kitts, in broadcasting, we must understand that not everyone would like what we are saying. But we must work hard to respect their views because we have ours. Radio has taught me so much that each day I spend on radio, it might not appear so to people, but my learning experience is going up so fast that I am home now in the last week or two, rearranging my radio program. I'm going to put them in play all the time, but I wouldn't say in what way. They will just listen and hear. Young man, at the age of 20, you have a long way to go. Do not allow anybody to discourage you from this path. But remember, some sour times in it. There are going to be times when you do program, the feedback downtown will be bitter. But stand up for your belief and make sure you replay all what you did so you can see for yourself where you're going wrong and listen to everybody. Even to the dull and deaf man, if he says something to you, listen is important. Thank you for the invitation. I thought long and hard before I answer. But anything when it comes to radio for WINN FM, I'll involve myself in. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you so much, Dupont. And again, thank you so much to Ike for joining us right here on WINN FM 98.9 for another edition of Voices. I wish we could have stayed longer, but we have to go. And I promise we will come back at a later date to have a second edition of discussing or putting our case forward as to why we believe radio is still important and radio is still relevant. Continue to stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and play your part in keeping St Kitts and Nevis safe from the COVID-19 virus. Give thanks for life. Stay well until next time. I was your host, Devon Cornelius.